How you doing? I'm Carson. This is Bryce. This is Tanae. And we're interviewing our friend Ethan, who's an atheist. Tanae's going to start out with her questions.
Okay. Question number 1. Where do you go after death?
I believe you go nowhere. I think you go to the dirt, and it doesn't matter because you're dead.
How would you say that human consciousness came into being?
Human consciousness came into being, I think, as over evolution. So the first human, Lucy, was around 3 million years ago in Africa. We evolved as apes, ape-like beings, the Homo sapiens. We also had Neanderthals and everything else, and I think consciousness was a development of the brain. And what we understand as consciousness is more chemicals and the evolution of the brain being more and more sophisticated, all the way from one single cell. So it's just an evolution, really. And our idea of consciousness is, simply a chemical reaction most of the time.
All right. Well, where do you get your morals from?
I think morals are, a person that doesn't believe in God can have morals just like a person that does believe in God. I think when you have morals, it's good regardless of your belief because it benefits you no matter what you believe in. Someone with good morals can pursue a society status. They can have a good, healthy, long life. And I think morals in itself are their own reward. I don't think you need a belief in anything to have good morals. And I think that religion does that in a way. They kind of monopolize morality as that's what you need to have morals, and I think it's a lie.
All right, but who are you getting rewarded by if you have morals and you're not a Christian? What is your main focus on of where you get your morals if you're not a Christian?
Well, I just actually answered your question. So morality in itself is its own reward. So if say I treat my family right, my wife, my kids, I'm honest, I'm good, that makes me feel good. So I'm not really doing it for anyone else but myself. So the belief in morals is simply it's its own reward. And I would even go a step farther, saying that this belief in a big brother constantly looking over you is actually a prison. So what the average Christian believes is that God is constantly watching you, every little slight you do, and so they walk around in guilt all the time. And I feel that you free yourself when you actually don't have those beliefs. So just to add to your little tangent there. But I don't think you need to believe in anything to have morals.
All right.
Okay. Where does free will come from?
I was just talking about this today, actually. I don't believe in free will. I think life is a series of accidents and things put in front of you. Like, say, a person walks into the bar or wherever you're going to meet your wife. Is that really a choice? Yeah, you got a choice, but not really. You just bumped into this person. That's a bad example. And then I'd also say we're conditioned. So we're conditioned to like a certain race. We're conditioned to like a certain person by our upbringing, by our parents. So what we think of as free will is actually conditioning. And it's really not as free as we think we are, because we're going to make these predispositions based upon our upbringing, our race, our religion, our social status. So a lot of these things that we look at as free will, it's kind of, I would say, I believe in free will in a very, very limited scope. We're not as free as we think we are. And especially if you add the idea of social status. How free are we when we are limited by so many things? Probably the most important would be our social status. I would say if you're like Leonardo DiCaprio, you could buy a Tyrannosaurus Rex head. Then I would believe in free will.
Going back to the last question I asked you, you said that you believe that the first person on Earth was Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
So then how would you say that Lucy came to be? Like how she manifested?
Well, Lucy was the daughter of Mrs. Lucy. I think Lucy is Lucy the second, actually. That's how Lucy came into being. And her dad was named Jimbo. So Jimbo and Lucy yeah. So that's how, no. Well, I think Lucy came into being, so the first human was in Africa, right? And that's the first, you can actually go to the Museum of Natural History in San Diego and see that's where they have an exposition of the first Homo sapien. I don't think she was the first Homo sapien, I think she was the derivative of the Homo sapien 3 million years ago. I think Lucy came about by, well, that's kind of I think the question should be phrased slightly different. Maybe you should say, how did Lucy come into being from another species, right? Is that your question?
Well, that's a good one too, but just, so are we saying Lucy's parents were the first people on Earth?
I think Lucy's, well, if you look at evolution, right, actually, if you go back, I think billions of years ago, the first organism was a single-celled organism, and then it splits into 2 and 3 and 4. So I would say Lucy's parents was actually an amoeba. That's what I'm gonna say.
Well, okay, then how did that single-cell organism first come to? Is what I was trying to get to. Like, how did
that single-celled organism made love to another single-celled organism, and I think over time, I mean, I think the argument is hard. There's a lot of missing links, right? So you have this link, and then you have to make this jump of faith to this other link and this other link. But I think over time, I think evolution has developed into a strong scientific theory in the fact that 98% of all scientists believe in evolution. And I would say it's almost like global warming. Like you have an absolute majority that believe in it with its shortcomings. And I would say it doesn't have as many strengths as global warming does, but I say it has almost the amount of agreement in the scientific community. But yeah, so I would say that Lucy came about through the amoeba and through the Big Bang and through the mixture of gases and the creation of planets, and it was all part of that. The first organisms getting more and more and more complicated over time.
All right, and now, how would you say like the Earth, like with the Big Bang, how the Earth got exactly where it was without a creator? Considering that if the Earth was an inch to the left, inch to the right, inch up, inch down, that we would either burn or freeze.
I think if you look at an infinite world and infinite possibilities, it's only a matter of time before you get something that's an inch right, an inch left, an inch up, inch down. And so I think if you look at the world as an infinity of possibilities, I would say that. And I would even say that modern science, when you look at modern science, just recently they're noticing stars in the sky that resemble the Earth more and more. So I think, in fact, as much as we think we're so special, there's actually a lot of planets that are almost the exact same distance from suns and sizes and potential of life that we do. So I think science is actually proving that we're not very special as a planet. And there's probably aliens out there, and I bet you The Rock is probably on there making a movie right now.
Oh yeah.
There's probably a couple different rocks making 10 different movies on each of those planets.
I love him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna marry him.
just saying.
Okay. why did you become an atheist? Like, what made you think?
Where do I start? Well, first of all, I think Christians are hypocrites. I'll say that right now. I think, one thing they talk about is they shun wealth, right? Jesus, one of the main things Christ talked about was, you shun wealth, right? And you're supposed to take this vow of poverty. So I don't see that at all. And, you look at Joel Osteen and people like this, and they have billion-dollar mansions. So I think it's hard for me to believe in Christianity, knowing that the modern society supports Christians that absolutely resemble nothing compared to what Christianity should be. And I'll go even a step farther. The only Christian I've ever seen in life in our generation, past 2 generations, is a Hindu. Gandhi was the only one that actually really, in my mind, resembled anything like Christ. And I would also say violence. So whatever happened to this shunning of violence, we're the most violent nation on the planet. We create bomb after bomb, military-industrial complex, and we're supposed to be Christians. So in a world of hypocrites, it's hard to believe in anything, I think. And I would also say that one thing that made me not believe in God was, that you can't prove it, right? So you really can't prove there's a God. So without that proof, it's hard for me to really believe. So I would say, I'm more of an agnostic. I just don't know, because I haven't really seen anything to push me otherwise. So it's really it's hard for me to believe in anything.
So then, if you believe you haven't seen anything in the world that would prove God's existence, would you how would you explain the fine tuning in the universe and stuff? Oh, Carson actually asked that. Never mind.
The fine tuning.
That's kind of what Carson
That's a little bit
asked.
different.
I would say the fine tuning. How do you explain the sophistication of the universe? I would say it's basically to answer my question, it's still not proof of God.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the world is sophisticated. There's no proof of anything. So you almost have a 50-50 chance.
Mm-hmm.
So without proof, which is what faith, I have a hard time with faith, because you have to actually believe in something you don't know about. So with a 50-50 chance, there could be no God, there could be a God, there could be a Muslim God, there could be a Christian God, there could be a Buddhist God. Then you got your choice of gods, right? So what God do you choose?
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. So no matter what, everyone's going to be wrong at one point. And so there's 2 billion Muslims in the world or something. So they're all wrong. So it's kind of hard with how do you prove any of it? So I just proved to, I believe in the wind. You can't see that, stuff like that. But it's hard for me to believe in something so without proof, such as God. And I would also say it's anyone's guess if there's a God or if there's not a God. Hopefully, we'll find out. But I'll probably be dead in the ground, and it won't matter.
Now, I kind of have 2 quick questions. First of all, do you believe that anything in the Bible is true, or is it all false?
Well, I think I don't believe in Pinocchio. So if I know in the Bible they have the idea of Jonah and the whale, and he went inside a whale and lived for a couple of days. So you basically believe in Pinocchio, if you believe in the Bible's literal translation. I don't believe in the parting of the Red Sea. I don't believe in the Trinity. 3 gods in one. There's all these things that I have a hard time with. So is there anything I do believe in? Is your question? It's more of a preponderance of negation. I don't believe in most of the things, but I would say I do believe that maybe there was a guy named Jesus that was real charismatic, and I think these people were probably real people, and they had a good following, but You know, just like today, you know, these people, certain people, they take all the energy and the focus, but it doesn't really mean they were divine. You know, they were just people. That's what I think.
All right, and then, do you believe that there was an earth-wide flood?
Oh yeah. Well, if you look at a lot of the creation stories, Indian creation stories, all that, so there definitely was a flood.
Yeah, because there's like stories of a worldwide flood
The
from
whole-
every single culture. Yeah, like everyone has it like
Definitely.
mixed and matched with how it happened, but
Yeah.
there was always a man and his wife who built the ark, prepared for it, and through like hundreds and thousands of cultures.
Yeah.
That's the story. Like a man with his family and animals were the ones who survived it.
Well, when it comes to Noah's Ark, though, I have a hard time with that one. I mean, okay, so you're telling me there's a lion next to a sheep for like 40 days, and then there's a rhino next to like a lizard, or I mean, it's just absurd. No, there's a little. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, it's just insanity. So the idea of the Noah's Ark to me, especially after I watched the movie, I was like, there's no way this happened. So I think, yeah, I think the movie ruined that one for me.
All right. And up to you.
Did we do the moral one?
Yeah.
Yeah, Carson did.
The moral of the story.
And then have we did? Oh. Since there is no morals, would murder not be considered bad?
Well, I think, well, it's kind of to my point, like morals are morals no matter what you believe in. I think, you know, and they have their own reward and their own punishment. So I think if you go back to the first people, you know, there was an eye for an eye, right? Hammurabi's code, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was important because it kept the tribe intact and there was order. So, you know, when you look at that, from a primitive standpoint, morals have always been a part of society, just to keep the peace. You know, like the police. You know, without that, you have chaos and anarchy. So there's a social code we all have that we all agree upon for all of our benefits. That in the end has nothing to do with morality. It just has to do with we all understand it. This benefits all of us in the same time.
But do you think a person could create their own can have their own morals?
I think, you know, if you get down to the general idea of morality, you don't lie, you don't cheat, you don't steal, you don't murder.
Yeah, but like who is?
I think that's pretty universal.
Yeah,
you know,
but
like if you steal my goat, you know, and it's like we're gonna have a problem.
But what if I
You know
see
what I mean?
But what if I see the goat and want it, and I have no morals based off anything?
It's
But
not
so
wrong to
I'm gonna
me.
take that goat because it's not wrong to me to take your goat, because
But-
that's my morals.
But I think it's again society. If we're talking about as a society, so it's not even really about morals. It's order, right? So if you steal my goat, you're gonna get punished.
I want the goat.
because the society is gonna come and reprimand you with some type of punishment. So in the end, it's not even about morals; it's about order, and and Thomas Hobbes calls it the social contract. You know, you have a social contract that we all agree upon. That in the end, it really has nothing to do with morality. It has everything to do with society agreeing on a set of codes for the sake of society, and all societies do it. And from the beginning of time, since Lucy's time, in fact, I think Lucy's dad was a governor of Zimbabwe, or was it?
Zimbabwe?
No, Zimbabwe.
Is it Zimbabwe?
Back then, it was called Zimbabwe.
Okay. I'm just thinking it's your question now, since I just kind of jumped in there.
So then would you view moral relativism as a bad thing?
Moral relativism? Moral relativism, I think, is, look, I think, people should, it's as simple as this. As long as you're not messing with me, stealing my goat, you know what I mean? Keep your hands off my goat. Okay? Literally.
Like your goat, huh?
I pet your goat, you pet my goat. No, wait, that was the wrong saying. But, well, if you really want to, you could pet my goat. Just don't take him.
Do you actually have a goat?
No, I don't. No, but where was I? Moral relativism. So, I think, okay, I went off track, sorry. I would say this, that moral relativism is okay in the fact that as long as you're not hurting anyone, you're not hurting society. You can basically do whatever you want. But when you infringe upon my freedoms and my life, then we have a problem. So basically, you can be gay, you can do this, you can do that. I don't care. As long as you're not doing stuff to me, trapping me in the bathroom, stuff like that.
Yeah, but say for homosexuality, being gay, how do you really think that's okay or meant to be when only a man and a woman can have a kid? If the world was just full of gays and lesbians, they would people would just go extinct, and AIDS would be flooding.
Well, frankly, I think that would be a good thing. I wish everyone were gay, and then the world would actually get back to normal.
With no one at
It would solve global warming in one generation.
He might be on something.
So, I think it is weird. I mean, I'm not gay. It's.
You sure?
Well, that one time. But we try not to talk about it. But I will say this. It's. I have actually studied this in the Bible, the whole gay thing and this and that, and it's actually really not there. And I would say, if you study all the passages in the Bible about homosexuals, this and that, you really, really got to try to stretch the dialogue to. It really doesn't say anything. And I would say, when I see gay pride parades and stuff like that, I'm not going to watch it, but I'm not going to also condemn them. And I do think they should have some type of freedoms, like another person. We're in a modern society. We need to change with the times.
I just think it gets to a point. It gets so far to a point that you're almost being praised to be gay, but we don't have a straight Pride Month. So I feel like it's kind of going above and beyond, shoving your morality in someone's face.
Yeah. Well, again, like I said, I don't. When I see the Pride Parade, I turn it off. I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna go to see one. But I think you get to a point where, we're on the moral relativism question, right? Moral relativism. Mm-hmm. So I think when it comes to stuff like that, even though I don't really agree with it, it's none of my business to judge them, And that's the other thing I'll say about Christians. I think they're the most judgmental people on the planet, and I have a hard time with that. So that's also I have a hard time in general with most Christians, and the fact that they're the most judgmental people I've ever met. So.
And now for another question: how long do you think the Earth has been the thing, considering the fact that even atheist scientists will admit that there's only really 6,000 years worth of only 6,000 years that have shown how long the Earth has been here. That's what's just been proven.
Well, I would disagree with that. So you're telling me that they put a saddle on a triceratops, and Lucy was just straight up riding a triceratops.
Was Lucy an ape or a human?
Have you seen Planet of the Apes?
I know. So I'm saying
Lucy's mobbing those.
So I know. I think Lucy was a triceratops cowgirl. She straight up was on that triceratops. But I think that's my problem with that idea is that the dinosaurs lived millions of years ago.
But where'd you get that from?
I saw Jurassic Park last week.
How was it?
It was good. Jurassic World. They're coming out with the new one? I didn't see the new one.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so this whole so your argument comes that we're 6,000 years old.
The Earth is 6,000 years old.
So, again, I would say that probably 99% of the scientific community disagrees with that.
But that's false. I've read studies on it.
So you're in the 1 percentile.
I've read a lot.
Of
it says even atheist scientists agree that the Earth has only showed 6,000 years of life.
Okay, so how do you explain Pangea?
What define Pangea?
So Pangea was actually
all the continents being together. Right?
Yeah.
Supercontinent.
Yeah.
So how does the continents go from Pangea to now in 6,000 years?
What evidence showed you that Pangea was even a thing?
Well, I think if you look at the Earth and the crust and how things have moved, even if you look at the Hawaiian Islands and the how much.
But they popped up from volcanoes.
But if you look at the movement of the crust and use that as an example, so Kauai is the oldest island.
Yeah.
Kona is the newest, where the volcano is.
Yeah. The big island.
So as it goes over the volcano, the hot spot over the crust, a island pops up. So you have Kauai, you have Maui, and now you have Kona. You know, so you have evidence of kind of the movement of the plates and how long it takes to make an island, to move the crust. So when you have and actually there is evidence of Pangea. There is actual like shellstone, and there's like species and stuff in the crust from this continent to this continent to prove that Pangea actually did happen. So I would say your biggest weakness in that argument, to me, would be Pangea. Like there was one supercontinent at one point.
Yeah, but how are you gonna say that stuff couldn't have got there from the flood? Because like there's several findings of like whales, like in
clams on
like there's
Mount
clams on
Everest.
Mount Everest. There's whales in like where was it again? I think it was
Peru.
like Peru. Like there's whales in the middle, like 150 miles away from the ocean in Peru. Like how are you gonna explain that?
Well, I mean, certainly there was a flood.
Well, I was about to say he agreed.
I agree with the
Oh, yeah.
flood. I agree with the flood, but I would say the whole argument, the 6,000. Well, let me flip it on. Let me turn it around here. So for you, you're gonna have to prove to me that the Earth is 6,000 years old, not the other way around. And here's why. So with 99% of the population believing otherwise, I think the burden of proof is on that 1%. To prove that the Earth is 6,000 years old. So that's what you're saying, the Earth is 6,000 years
Yeah,
old.
but where are you also gonna get yours saying that that's 99% of the population? Because a majority of America would say that they're like I think it's like 60% of America would claim that they're Christians.
They're Christians,
Yeah.
but not creationists.
Well, I mean, most Christians are creationists.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
I would like to see that. What I would say is this. Okay. Almost no Catholics are creationists, probably, right?
I mean, I guess you could say that I have some friends that are Catholics who are creationists.
I would say it's very, very rare. So there's a huge portion of Christians that are not evolutionists. And if you go to university, right? So once you go to university, they'll teach you otherwise.
Yeah.
So you have actually, I think, a huge portion, I would say more than you realize, that don't believe in creationism. So I think the burden of proof is on you as the extreme minority to prove the Earth was created in 6,000 years. And I would say this too, that, if you study Einstein and the theory of relativity, and you study other planets, the what happens over here is the same as this. So as we're studying more and more planets and the birth of stars and the birth of planets, we can see right now how long it takes for planets to grow. So I think it's more and more getting harder to believe what you believe in with the preponderance of scientific evidence. So
This is gonna be long. Should we just wrap it up?
Give me a good person quiz if he wants to. Do we have to do that?
We can. Should we do it?
If you'd like.
Do you have it organized?
No, I don't actually.
What is it?
Have you ever stolen? Have you ever lied and looked at someone with adulterous eyes?
do you want me to do that? Okay, whatever you want me to do.
I mean, let's just wrap it up and cut all this.
Down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
All right.
Perfect. You play a good atheist.
All right.